All right, WXR, Alternative Doom Radio. This is the show, the podcast where we talk about Doom and other stuff. And I think I start every show the same way, saying the same thing. But but this is we're on season 6 now, man, episode 1, and I'm here today with Megalyth.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, man, it's good to have you back.
Yeah, it's nice to be back.
Yeah. Okay, so you showed me some screenshots earlier of a project that you're working on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it, man. So this is a project you've been working on for a while?
Yeah, quite a while. Whenever I get the time, hold on, I accidentally closed the album.
Okay.
But, not all of the screens in here are of the same project, but most of them are.
Okay.
Whoops. Alright. So it's like the first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's the first 7 shots in that album actually are, I think I've posted some of these in the, show me what you're working on thread on doomworld.
Oh, okay.
It's, one of the city maps in, it's the episode I'm working on. I think I'm shooting for like 7 levels.
Okay.
And if I get more ideas, maybe I'll do 11. I'm not trying to do like a whole 32 map thing. It's just too much.
Yeah, that's a major commitment.
As it is. And I'm the kind of person, like, when I get going on a map, like, I'll make a section and then I'll put like a window looking out into like an outdoor landscape. And then I think like, oh, how cool would it be if you could see this from the other side, and then I make an entire massive connecting section that wraps around this thing, and then of course that spawns more offshoot areas. So this map became like probably about 20 times the size that I originally intended it to be. But it's really cool. It's there's one city map that I think that's the one I uploaded for my birthday this year.
Okay.
It was just a plain city map with nothing really hellish in it. And so this city map is kind of like a subverted city. It's got, just like your typical buildings, and varying indoor and outdoor areas, but with hellish influence all over the place.
Yeah, it was like it's got like those like flesh spine textures like weaving in and out of the buildings and stuff. It looks really cool.
Right. And there's I don't think I have a screenshot of it, but there's the one shot where it's the indoor with the brown hexagon floor, and you can see the plasma rifle off to the side.
Oh yeah.
On the little pedestal over in that alcove there, and I did this in a couple places in the level, the big like the comp tall texture and like things that have like little computer panels on them.
Yeah.
I'll make like a little detail sector of one of the panels, and then I'll align like I think it's SP face that has all the faces on it.
Yeah.
So that just one of the panels has like the eyeballs looking at you, or like the mouth screaming, and just at various spots, and not even necessarily in a very obvious place. It might just be like off in a little corner somewhere, and
yeah,
it's there. If somebody notices the details, if not, it's but it if somebody's like poking around in the little nooks and crannies in the level and they see that, like,
yeah,
that's kind of creepy.
It's fun to do that kind of stuff with like texture alignment and like kind of get like, especially with those faces, to try to like put them in like little places. I've seen maps that do that before, where they put like the that switch texture that's like shaped like an eye, and they'll like put it in like a crack in between these bricks, and it looks like an eye's looking at you.
Right.
Or like in map 16, the suburbs, where they have that part where you have to like shoot the gargoyle face, where it's got like those little red eyes like creeping at you, and you have to shoot it with a super shotgun to get the secret.
The eyes on that texture always kind of creep me out. Like if you look at it really closely, it's like it's just red eyes. Like there's no pupils or anything. It's like
and it's such an empty expression. It like really it's super creepy.
Yeah, it's like devoid of any like thought, or it's just pure like malice or something weird.
Yeah.
But
That's cool, man. So yeah, I have trouble like making enough time to work on my maps myself. I have a project that I'm working on, but it's so slow moving. I really wish I had more time to work on it, but I don't know. I I'm like trying to work on like developing like a technique or like a method so that I can like work on my maps even faster. Because what I like to do is I'll work on like a map for a very long stretch of time, and I don't get that amount of time anymore. There's just too many like interruptions and distractions in my life. So
yeah,
like I can only work on a map for like maybe an hour at a time. So I'm working on like it would be cool if I could think of some sort of a method where I can like break up my map design process in such a way where I can like make these like checkpoints in my map design process. So like I maybe if I could break it up into like steps, like work on layout and then texturing later, and then detail later, and then like thing placement, and then lighting or something like that, and just break it up into like 5 steps, and then spend 1 hour doing each of those steps instead of like trying to go at it all at once. Because if I get like too many ideas and I start doing things, I'll get like all caught up, and I'll have like this like I'll have like all this information in my head about stuff that I want to do. But if I have to leave the computer and I have to save the thing and come back to it like maybe a week later when I have time, I'll like forget where I left off.
yeah, you lose all the. Yeah, that's happened to me. And I'm so random. Like I've tried to do like just make a layout and then go back and fix it up, and I'm so terrible at that, because once I build a room, I start to see in my mind what I want it to look like, and I'll just keep working on that room until I'm done, or and then connecting it with other areas. And especially when you're doing nonlinear maps, which I've done a lot more of lately.
Yeah.
Like that city map in the screens there it's linear in the sense that the objectives are it's got all 3 keys, but the central city area is pretty free roaming, and I even placed some of the weapons in more than one location, like the one super shotgun in that area with the red building, or the red ceiling, the red, and the green Nukage River. That's, I think, one of 3 different super shotgun locations in the map. So, because there's no monsters in the shots, but there are quite a few hard encounters in this level, and you run into a lot of roaming revenants and arachnotrons and stuff. So you kind of need. I didn't want to punish the player for exploring.
Yeah.
And if they take off in one direction, and
yeah, you don't want them to get stuck with a crappy weapon.
If there's only one super shotgun or one chain gun, they could run around the entire level without finding either one.
Yeah, and then they're like killing everything with a chainsaw, and then they find the super shotgun last after everything is dead.
Right, so I put a few of them scattered around. That way, no matter which direction they go, they have a decent chance of grabbing. And like that plasma gun on the pedestal is basically right near the start. It takes a little bit of doing to get it.
Yeah.
There's a switch in that. There's a section off to the left with the gray stone ceiling and the metal pillars,
mm-hmm.
and an alcove in there that there's a switch that lowers that. And to even get to the switch, it flips a trap, which I think is just 2 specters or something like that. It's nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
But this room is already populated with monsters. I think it's got an arachnotron and just a bunch of like cannon fodder that you have to fight through. But then once you grab the plasma rifle, those 3 tech pillars lower, and each one has a monster on it. I think there's an Archvile, a Revenant, and a Cacodemon in there.
Oh, nice.
So, and there's still plenty of cover. Both sides have those metal pillars So you're not too out in the open where the Archvile is gonna just have like free reign. But
Yeah, I've heard people say in the past. I've heard like if some people say they get tired of like really predictable traps, like when you pick up a gun and a monster shows up. But I don't agree with that at all. I think that makes a lot more sense to like make traps, like to give the player something and then have consequences follow after it.
Right.
I feel like that makes much more sense than.
I switch it up too. I mean, not everything is a trap.
Yeah.
Because I don't want it to become predictable. And sometimes there will be a trap for no reason at all. It might not be that you picked something up. It's just that you
just
some
walk in the
things
wrong place
just
at the
seem
wrong time.
like a good place for a trap.
Yeah, right.
Basically, and you could just be walking through like a plain area, and it might, and it keeps the level populated too. If you're, and especially in a nonlinear one, somebody might run around the entire place, kill all the monsters, and then they're not sure where to go next, or they have to go back to one of the key doors or something after they get the key. So I try to make it so that if it's especially a large level, if you pick something up on one side of the level, it might teleport some roaming monsters in just randomly around the city again, so that if you go back that way, even if it's just a few imps and demons, just something to keep you on your toes, and so you're not just wandering around big empty areas that you already cleared out.
Yeah, it's a good way of like indicating progress too.
Yeah.
Like kind of like the way E1M7 Computer Station does it, where like every time you pick up a key, it opens up a few closets in the layout, and then like after that, you've got like shotgun guys and stuff running around in this area that you've already been in before, and it kind of like it's kind of like an indicator that you're going the right way in like a nonlinear map like that.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
And this is, it's not entirely nonlinear. Like I said, the central city area and all the offshoot areas are, you can go about them almost, there's probably like a dozen different ways you could go through this.
Yeah.
But there are the key doors, and once you go through those, they have their own little section. And you'll go through like a kind of a linear section to get the next key.
Yeah.
And then you'll be traveling, and then you'll wind up back in the larger open area to get back to the other. And then the last sequence is the longest. There's, let me see, the first shot, the one with the green stone and the bodies hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, right.
That's you can enter that room right away, but that wooden ledge up there is that's behind the red key door, which is further down. So
okay, so you can see where you need to go.
You re-enter this room after picking up the red key, which is like much later in the map, and you come back into this room, and it kind of gives a sense of location. And when you come back in from that way, it's got more monsters in it.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, and I can see how it kind of like gives you an idea of what you're supposed to be doing too, because you can see this door that's above this ledge, and you're not sure how to get to it yet. And then as you move around, you can see there's like a red key or a door that needs a key.
Right.
And that's how you know how to get up there. So like that's a place that you have to come back to eventually once you figure out the rest of the map. That's cool, man. That's good. I've been focusing on that kind of stuff too. I like I really like communicating to the player visually. So like when you see like the objectives that you need to accomplish without knowing exactly how to get to them, I kind of like to keep the player like focused that way. And nonlinearity is like something that's kind of tough to do sometimes, because like there's like the gameplay shifts depending on which player or which direction you take, and the player isn't always going to know which way is easy or which way is hard. So they might get into a situation where they're stuck with like fighting like all kinds of like all the tough monsters without any of the good weapons, or they can find all the good weapons right away and then fight all the tough monsters after that, and then it seems pretty easy. And so like it's kind of you don't get as much control as the level designer, but and at the same time you're giving a lot of control to the player, because if they die to a hard part, they can be like, okay, if I'm going to try this map again, I can go this way instead of that way, and then it gives them more choices. And that's I think that's probably the way to go, because if you're doing a map that's completely linear, you do have like complete control, but you're kind of like forcing the player to play your map in a certain way. And if they die at a certain part, then they just have to play the entire line all over again and just hopefully not die this time. And that's not really fun.
And there's nothing different the second time around. And that's not always bad. There's a lot of really good linear maps, and usually the smaller ones. Nonlinear maps are difficult. This one is probably really it's only the second truly nonlinear or mostly nonlinear level that I've made, and especially to the scale that this level is. It's like, I should have sent you a picture of the overhead view of the map. It's freaking gigantic. It's probably the biggest map I've made yet.
Because I'm looking at your screenshots, and like it doesn't look like any of the areas are. Well, I can't really see where many of them connect. I mean, you're describing it to me, so I can kind of piece it together. But they're pretty distinct areas. And so I can tell it's a pretty huge map.
They're not really in any particular order either, so it's kind of But I got a couple more shots. Well, there's one in there from that. I made a birthday map for Razik. I actually made it. I started it in his birthday in, I think, 2014, and I tried to do it fast, and it fell by the wayside. And his birthday came around the following year, and I was like, damn, I never finished that map, and I started working on it again. And his birthday came and went, and so finally, last year, his birthday came again, and I was like, I'm finishing this map this year. I was like, damn it. And it's been sitting on my hard drive, and that's the one, there's the green brick and like the tech base.
Yeah, I actually remember you showing me this map before. It's like, it's got like these green bricks, and there's like this catwalk ledge that's made out of gray stone, and it's like a staircase leading up to this corner. So I think you've showed me this map before, and I remember enjoying this map. It's a very cool one.
Oh yeah, you actually play tested it for me. I think about it.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I mean, we're talking like 2-3 years ago. But
it was a while ago. But I added a couple areas since you played it. I think that the one right underneath that with the hellish blobs of skin coming out of the ceiling, I think that was a new area. I'm not sure how I ended up throwing like something straight out of hell into a tech base, but it looked cool, and I was like, whatever. Yeah, I left it.
Just do whatever you feel like doing. I mean, it's got a cool, like, I kind of like that kind of stuff, because Doom 1 Episode 2 kind of made that kind of theme pretty natural, like the way where you can just kind of like jam hellish elements into like a tech base. It kind of like it seems kind of weird to think about, because it's like not something that would exist in like a normal, like, I don't know, like you don't even see it in modern games. You don't really see many games where like you have like two totally distinct areas merged into one level. But but like Episode 2 like makes that possible. It's supposed to just be
kind of like a gauntlet type level where, it's got like, it's just sequences of hard battles broken up by smaller tough encounters, and the main area gets repopulated pretty much every time you come back through.
That's pretty cool.
But
that's cool, man. So you spend a lot of time on your maps, I can see, because obviously I remember playing this one like 2 years ago, and did you say you finished it this year?
Yeah, I uploaded it to the archives.
That's good.
earlier this year, I think.
Yeah. So how long do you normally spend like working on a map like at a time? Like in each sitting, how long do you think you spend working on the map?
Lately, probably not more than a couple hours. Once in a great while, if I happen to be up late at night on a weekend or something, I might sit there, for 4 hours or so.
Yeah.
But typically I have too much going on, or I have to get up early to go to work in the morning, so I can't really stay up very late.
Yeah.
So
Me too, man.
I might get like an hour a day, and usually I don't even map every day.
Yeah. Because like sometimes if I get like a long break away from the computer, like I don't even feel like mapping. I just feel like playing Doom. And or like sometimes when I like come back to mapping after like not like using the editor for a while, I kind of like I'm kind of like I don't have a lot of ideas in my head, so I want to like play Doom to like kind of spark some inspiration, and then I spend all my time playing Doom instead of actually mapping. So so like that's kind of like what makes my like mapping projects fall backwards and stuff. I wish there were like I want to think of like more exercises that I can do to help speed up my mapping process. Like I mean, you can do like speed mapping, for example. That's like one thing that you can do. But I wish there was like I want to like take advantage of the editor and use it in such a way where I can like train myself instead of like designing maps that I might actually release. I was talking with Obsidian about this the other day. I wonder like how much do you think how important do you think it is to like imitate like how important do you think as far as like developing your skills as a level designer, do you think it's important to be able to imitate things that you see? Like if you looked at a cool screenshot of a map you thought was cool and like try to recreate it yourself in the editor. That's like a pretty powerful skill, isn't it?
Yeah, I would think so. I don't think I've ever really tried to do exactly that, but yeah, I mean,
I don't think
seeing something in game and attempting to recreate it yourself, even just to know how to do it.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
if you see an effect in the level, and even by opening up the level in Doom Builder and studying how it was done and how the architecture and texture alignment and whatever how it was all put together is a good way to learn how to make the stuff yourself, I would think.
Yeah, that's when I first got into mapping, that was like something that I tried to do because like when I got into the Doom community around like 2006, 2007, people like Agent Spork and like Tormentor 667 were like pretty popular mappers. And because they could make like really detailed stuff and they paid a lot of attention to like texture alignment and all that stuff. So I would see like comments on their stuff and people would be like, wow, it's so detailed, it's so cool. And I would look at it and I would see like how they do their lights and how they align their textures. And I'm like, I think I could do that. So I would like try and like maybe not recreate the exact scene, but I'll like try to imitate some of the like details that they do and try to use them in a way like in a different kind of map. And I think that helps shape my skills as a mapper. But I don't really do that as much anymore because I feel like even though like I am like pretty experienced at this point, I've released a lot of maps. I don't really do enough to like test myself and like try to try new things and like try to. I'm not really sure. I'm just kind of like I'm working on my projects and I just want to get them done, and that's what's kind of like taking away the fun of mapping for me because I'm like so focused on these results, and I'm not really like developing my skills in such a way where I'm like challenging myself to try something that's like really extreme and unusual.
Yeah, it's kind of becoming a chore.
Yeah. Well, I don't really know. I mean, at this point, I'm not really sure how much I can do to like really train my skills, but it would be cool to like develop some like exercises that I can do to like get myself back in the game and then make mapping a lot more natural, so that like inspiration comes to me quicker, and like maybe there's like certain way like maybe like designing staircases or something might be faster, or detailing might be faster or whatever, and I want to like maybe like try speed mapping a little bit more often and just do it for fun and not actually for like to release anything. If I can like kind of like get myself into like a mindset where I'm not that like bent on like making sure this is a good map that people are going to like to play, and just like treat the editor like it's just a playground and just doing whatever I want, I think that would be really beneficial for myself.
Yeah, that sounds. I've participated in a few speed maps in like speed mapping sessions, and I tend to really suck at it because I'm I can be fast, but like I said, like I'll make a room and I'll get hung up on making that room look nice.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are just like, you know, you give them 2 hours and they can make a pretty large, detailed, like nice map with good gameplay. I could make a decent map in 2 hours or 1 hour or whatever, but it probably wouldn't be very pretty.
Yeah, it's well, for like speed mapping, it's tricky because if you're new to it, you can really get yourself into a hole because you can like design a map that's just like way too big and it'll just take you forever to detail it all, and then you spend like way too much time detailing one area and not another, and then you run out of time and then your map looks like crap. But it's like it takes like a kind of like an awareness of how much you can do in how much time.
Yeah.
And usually people that can make pretty good speed maps are people who have done it a lot, and they know how much they can do in X amount of time, and that's how they're able to like design pretty good maps for speed maps and stuff. But it's like a skill that you have to develop. You just need to practice in order to get it.
Right. It would take practice.
Yeah.
I have found something that's helping me actually get my maps like progress and to the point where, you know, I have whole maps that I've finished for this project, which you know, used to never happen. I would start a level and I would never get anywhere with it.
Yeah.
I've been forcing myself to leave architecture simple.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can see that in some of these shots, how blocky some of these areas are.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm still happy with them. I think they look good despite the big blocky nature of them.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and you know, I can still stick little details off in the corners and edges and stuff. But you know, it is going to be vanilla, so I can't do a whole lot with the outdoor stuff.
Yeah, when you have like those large open spaces, you don't want to like use up all of your vis planes with tiny details and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm pretty good on the vis planes on this. It's the segs that kill me. I always end up like a hall of mirrors, like way down across the level. And I've actually had to split the level off differently because there was a stretch where you could see from like one side of the huge section to the other, and I had to put like a little twisty bend to block the player's view from one section to the other. But it actually worked out really cool because in that little section where it was just a big open space in between two buildings, now it's like its own little area, and I put a giant fountain of blood pouring out of a glowing red hole in the ceiling into a fountain, like a weird diamond structure thing. Like it looks weird. It's in this one level where it's like the city that's been taken over by hell.
Yeah.
So it fits because it looks so out of place coming out of the ceiling of a skyscraper.
Yeah.
Just like this river of blood pouring down into the. I don't have a screenshot of it uploaded, but it looks cool, I think.
Well, for those of you listening, like you obviously can't see these screenshots, but like the style of these maps, while they're vanilla, and they have like kind of an abstract style, they almost kind of remind me of Chorus's work in like base Ganymede. They're very like the structures are like pretty bold, and there's detail where it matters and stuff like that. And it's not very it's kind of, I don't want to like describe it poorly, but it's not like realistic in a way. It doesn't look like something you might see in like a realistic building, but it does have like a very fresh, like doomy look. Like it kind of looks like almost like something like Sandy Peterson would make if his mapping was a little better.
Yeah, I kind of went out of my way to avoid too heavy-handed realism. I specifically stuck with more abstract. Like it's got a good what's the word?
It's kind of abstract.
Like your spatial awareness of the area is, it makes sense. Like structurally,
yeah,
it could exist, but I went out of my way to make some of it somewhat nonsensical,
yeah,
and purposely using textures that I in the past probably wouldn't have used, or at least not used them together. And I was kind of inspired a little bit by evolution, and in some areas, in the way that in evolution there's a lot of areas that just have like the one here with the Nukage River and the red ceiling, like that. It looks pretty strange and it doesn't really make sense, but it looks cool in game. Like, it's got that little cage off to the side. I think I stuffed that full of revenants or something, but but then it's got that lift where you jump to the yellow key, and like in real life, like why in the hell would you need to dive over a river of slime to get yellow key? And I used to never do stuff like that in my levels because it wasn't realistic, I guess.
Yeah.
And so finally I just started saying, it's a game. It doesn't have to be like perfectly realistic.
Exactly.
It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to have some puzzles and challenges. And I started putting things like that where, and I've been using actions that I normally wouldn't have, like rising staircases and stuff. I never used to use those because they didn't really make sense. I don't know why, when I was younger, I was like, when I first started making levels, like they were utterly abstract, like all over the place, because I was still learning and I was exploring, all the different functions and things you could do.
Yeah.
Back in, it was like 1995 or something.
Damn, you were mapping all the way back then?
Yeah, a friend of mine got one of those like shovelware discs, and it had a few different editors on it. And I wound up liking Doom Construction Kit.
Whoa.
Which back then, it was basically the Doom Builder of the 90s. It just didn't have a visual mode. Doom Builder looks and functions pretty similarly to the way DCK worked back then, I think. It even, it had like auto align, and it had a lot of really useful features. It did like to crash a lot, though.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I was talking to Bawol a few episodes ago, and he was telling me a little bit about DCK, and that's something that happens a lot.
Yeah.
So that's a price you pay when you're dealing with old technology, I guess.
Yeah. Usually I would try to make backups before I tried to test or anything, because I had it corrupt a couple levels on me, too.
Oh, boy.
I think it probably could happen, like, if a file gets corrupt. I don't know if you've ever seen a corrupt Doom mod, when you open it up in Doom Builder, and it's just like a jumble of lines all over the place.
Yeah, it's actually hilarious. It's like a big scribble. It looks
like some like pickup sticks game or something. Like
yeah.
Somebody just puked up a bunch of line defs all over the screen.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I love it.
But yeah, I'm much more diligent about backups these days, especially with all the work I've done on this. Like, if these levels got lost, I would probably just give up mapping for a long, long time. I don't want to say forever, but I would probably be very put off about starting any major projects again for a while.
I know. I've done so much work on some of my projects already that if I lost them, I would just be like, oh, this is it. It's over. I don't want to. I don't want to recreate all of that again. But I have a lot of. I envy a lot of people who have a lot of free time. It drives me crazy because like there's some people on Doomworld who have like plenty of free time, but they're not making maps, and I'm like, why are you wasting so much time? Why aren't you making maps? You have no idea what it's like to not have any time. And I get myself into these stupors because I'm seeing people who are like complaining about having too much free time and like they're so bored and they're looking for games to play, and I'm just like, why aren't you designing maps? because that's all. If I had all the free time in the world, that's what I'd be doing. I'd be making these awesome maps, and I just don't have the time to do it. So I work on that. I work on like some of my maps like bit pieces at a time, but it's not a very fruitful method for me because I can't like. I don't know. It's just I'm much better when I work on a map from start to finish in one sitting than I do when I like break it up into pieces.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure, but I do wish I had more time. I would like to. I don't know. I keep saying this. I want to like change my technique around so that I can work on maps more and like actually like practice mapping, so that I can get myself into a groove. And then when I actually start to work on the projects that I want to release, I'll be like my skills will be sharpened for it.
Have you ever tried drawing ideas out on graph paper or anything like that?
Yeah, I actually do that pretty often. I haven't done it lately, but I do have like a sketch pad here. Like I keep it on my desk, and I have like all these like little drawings of maps that I've started on, but I haven't finished. But yeah, I do. I actually have like I have a pretty solid technique for drawing things on paper. Like I'll draw like a draft of it first, using like not very specific shapes. Like they mostly just look like bubbles or like deflated balloons, and those are just the rooms. And then I'll draw lines that like connect them together so I can have an idea of what the layout is going to be like. And then after that, I'll draw a second draft where I actually have like real shapes for the rooms, and I have like ideas for the kind of gameplay that's going to take place. Like if there's going to be like a bridge that I have to raise, or like a set of bars that need to be opened up, or like a kind of like maybe like a battle with like 6 mancubi or something. I'll like write these little notes inside the bubbles, and then I can kind of design the map around that. And then once it's planned out on paper, that kind of keeps me focused as I'm designing the map. But I haven't done it lately. I really should get back into that. And I keep thinking about it too. But I do end up like drawing the same drafts over and over again. Like they kind of look the same, and I don't want to like get into a style that's too samey. I don't want to like keep recreating the same map over and over again. It's just like a little bit different each time. But I don't know. I guess I just got to keep trying different things and see what happens. Because like once I start drawing something, and I don't like it, I can just start a new drawing and do the opposite of it.
It's a lot faster than making an entire map and then not liking it.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it would only take me a few minutes to like draw something diagram something real quick on paper, and if I don't like it, I can just make like 6 or 7 different drafts and then pick my favorite one. I think that's
I used to do that a lot when I was a kid. I've done it a few times over the past few years. I think I even mentioned it when I was working at the job that I had before this one. I pretty much just sat at a desk all day, and some days I would not get any customers at all.
Yeah.
And I could only sweep the floors and clean the stuff so much, and then I'd usually end up reading books or playing games on the Kindle.
Yeah.
But I got sick of all that, and I actually there was like a bunch of scrap paper under the desk, so I just started drawing levels. I think I actually made one of them. I'm trying to remember which one. I think it was one that I released or included in a community project, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, most of the time
I actually made the level. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, most of the time when I draw maps out on paper, like those maps usually come out very good when I actually create them in the editor. The last project that I worked on was a collaboration I did with Valkyrie Force. It's called Absolute Dishonor, and I drew all those maps out on paper before I started them, and I'm really pleased with how those maps came out. They're the shapes of the layouts and the way the maps look. It looks really nice. It's something that I think it kind of captures how I imagine like this like cool blend of like the master levels and Plutonia in one, and that's kind of like exactly what I was going for at the time. So I'm really glad it came out the way it did. But yeah, like drawing it out on paper was like super helpful for me.
I haven't had a chance to play. I remember seeing the release thread, Is that up on the archives on id Games?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty good. It was really fun working with Valkyrie Force because like we kind of had our own independent thing. I do want to like encourage people to do more collaborations and stuff too, because I know a lot of people get stuck working on their own projects and they work on them for months and months and months, and they have trouble releasing them. And if they just had a partner to work with, that would be very motivating, I would think, for them, because that's how it was for me when I was working on Absolute Dishonor, because I was working with Valkyrie Force, and I was really excited to be like working with him. But the way we designed our project was that we just basically split up every other map slot, and we would just design maps our way. I didn't touch any of his maps, and he didn't touch any of mine. But we just kind of like we talked a little bit about the style that we wanted to do, and he told me he was interested in doing something kind of like a mix of like Doom 2 and Plutonia, because that's what he's into. And he showed me his texture resource that he was using, and I just worked with it. And it was pretty cool. So it was something that I wanted to do too. So I was equally as motivated to work on it as he was, which was extremely important when you're working with a partner. When you're both equally as motivated, that's super important in order to release a good product and actually work well together.
Right.
But yeah, I'd like to see more people collaborating on more projects, because I think it's super fun to do. Almost every project that I've worked with another person on, it was always really fun, as long as we were both on the same page and we talked and we communicated a lot, and we knew what we wanted to do.
Yeah, I would like to do some collaborations sometime. It's hard to find people who aren't already, caught up in a bunch of their own projects. A lot of people, if they're anything like me, they have like 5 maps that they owe to various community projects, and they got their own thing that they're working on. So finding someone who has the time to join yet another project.
Yeah, it's it is a lot to ask for some people. I wonder if you could just like make a thread on Doomworld and be like, who's available, and then like see who's like around, who's able to work on a map. I don't know. I mean, that could work, I guess. I never thought to do it. I'd like to. I wonder how. It's hard when you work with somebody and you're working on a map together and you're both working on the same map. That's something that I was really pushing for when I started the community project Mutiny. I wanted every map to be a collaboration, and people had a little bit of trouble working together because they didn't want the other person to like I guess like when you work on a map and you get like maybe a percentage of it done and you hand it over, and then the person's not sure what to do with it, so they start like changing things around and they add areas to it, and then the map gets like too big, or it just doesn't look like what it was supposed to in the beginning. And
I guess that could become kind of aggravating if somebody comes and like completely rearranges something that you made. I mean,
I've been thinking about that a lot more lately, because I know that's something that's like kind of difficult to work with somebody, like if you're working on maps together. That would be something that's difficult to address. So like I wonder if there's like a particular method of mapping where you're kind of aware that you're working with a partner. So like maybe you could you can make a map in such a way where you're working on distinct parts of a map, and then once those parts are done, you can just kind of like stitch them together like it's snap map.
Yeah, I remember years ago on Doomworld, somebody started a thread, and I think it actually went through to being completed. I don't remember if it was one left. I think somebody made a starting area and they uploaded it, and people were encouraged to download that and build just one single area off of it, like not an entire level, and then everyone would upload what they had done, and the person picked the one that they liked best, and or whatever, and then it just continued that way. I don't remember who even started the thread. I remember it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I think it did finally become a full level, and
that's pretty cool.
That was done, just one area at a time.
I did a project once with well, it was a single map that I did with Super Jamie and a couple other mappers. It was called Quadruple Threat, and it was he designed like this main hub area with these four doorways, and I think it was like I guess there was like a spiral staircase around the hub area, and like you would, as you go up the stairs, there would be like these doors at every like level above the stairs, and so he had these doorways, and then he send the map to me and a couple other people. I think it was Jodwin and the Green Herring, and he just wanted us to work on the map starting from one of these doorways. So like we each had our own designated doorway, and we would just build off the map from there. And I think like he gave.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool project. The map is probably not like the best. I mean, it was pretty good, but and it was like a fun exercise to like work with other people too, because we got to work on our own distinct areas. But when the map was like finished, like you could kind of tell it was made by different people, because our styles didn't really like mesh together very well. But it was still like it was pretty fun exercise because it was like multiple people working on a single map, and I guess that would be kind of like the way to do it, is to like kind of have like these distinct areas and then just have these people work together on it. But again, I think it's like communication is like super important. You guys want to make sure you're like everybody's on point with like the kind of style you want to go for. So like you don't want to have like one part that's like super detailed because the guy is like that's what he's interested in doing, and then another guy has like this hellish like Sandy Peterson Mount Erebus looking place, and then the whole map just doesn't make any sense. So like you guys, I guess like you would need everybody to be just like talking to each other and like making sure we all agree on what we're supposed to be doing for this particular project.
Right. Lay out some guidelines before you start, and make sure everyone stays within like a certain style, I guess.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of like really fun like short episodes could be done if people would just like, if they didn't like. I know like a lot of people tend to like get obsessed with the idea of creating a megawad, and that's such a daunting task. I don't know why anybody would really want to really go through with it unless they like intend to work on like 1024 maps where it's just like or like some sort of limitation where they can only make small maps. Then I guess it's not that major of a commitment. But it would be cool if people made like more short episodes where like one guy made like 3 levels and then they would just have like 1 or 2 other people make like a guest map for it. And that would kind of like shake things up and make a nice like 5-6 level episode. I like short episodes like that anyway.
That's why I'm keeping this small. It's already taken me so long to even get. I think I got like 5 maps done for it.
Yeah.
If I tried to do 32, I would have to either move a hell of a lot faster or devote like the next 5 years or so to making this, and then. It's not like anything fancy. It's not like an Ancient Aliens type thing where it's got a bunch of new monsters and textures, and it's all stock stuff. And there's some variants of stock textures and stuff. But I'm after this though. I swear I'm never doing another vanilla level. I'll do limit removing or something.
Yeah, is vanilla driving?
I'll use the vanilla function, but fighting with draw segs is like I've had dreams about it.
Yeah, I had that experience too when I was working with Valkyrie Force because it is a vanilla map set. And what I would do is I got really carried away with lighting, so I would like make like really cool like lighting gradients and stuff, and by the time I got the map exactly the way I wanted it, I would test it, and then there would be all these problems, and I would just have to like scale everything back and and like shift things around and make things still look kind of cool, but without as much detail as I wanted to in the first place. And it just kind of sucks. So you're just kind of like screwing up your vision for the sake of these stupid limits. I'm with you with that. I prefer limit removing just because I do appreciate the challenge of working within vanilla limits, but sometimes it's so grating that you don't get to do the things that you want to do.
Yeah. I'm not sure why I even decided to stick to vanilla. because almost nobody uses. I mean, some people play with chocolate doom, I guess, but most people aren't opposed to using boom.
Right.
So, I'm looking back, but I've come so far, and I'm still within vanilla limits that I might as well stick to that.
Yeah, can't quit now.
And I've managed to make it look pretty visually appealing and kind of rich while still staying within the limits. Like it's been interesting trying to get everything looking the way I want it to without going over any limits. Usually it's not the viz planes. I've hit viz planes a couple times here and there, but
Yeah, I was in my project in my project with Valkyrie Force Absolute Dishonor. I was hitting the segs a lot too, especially because I was working with the lighting gradient, so I had vertices everywhere in order to get it to look right, and it was just
it won't crash the game, I guess, but it just looks like shit.
Yeah,
I guess if it's somewhere where it's not noticeable, because typically it will render stuff. The closest to you gets rendered first, and then the further away.
Yeah.
So, you might. There's a couple spots where you might hit the limit, like
you might have some like Hall of Mirrors.
I think there's even one spot in this level where you have to stand in just the right place and look in just the right direction, and it has like 258 segs.
Yeah.
And I have not, and you just see like a little bit of flickering off in the distance. It's not even. You would have to go looking for it.
Yeah, right.
To actually find it. So that those little things I'm not really worried about. It's when an entire section of the other side of the level is like flickering, that I don't want.
Yeah. The cool thing about working with vanilla though is, as you were describing earlier, you had like this long area where you could like see all the way to the end of the map, and that caused some like whatever limits you ran into. And then you had to design a new area to kind of like wind around that area, and then that ended up adding to the map and making it more interesting. So it's kind of cool how like you run into like these limits, and they seem like a problem at first, but then you can kind of use them to your advantage to be more innovative and create something kind of new and interesting.
Yeah, and especially another thing that it's helped is kind of forcing me to use simpler, cleaner, like more stark architecture, as opposed to like super detail everywhere.
Yeah.
In a smaller space you can get away with a little bit of heavier detail, but in the big outdoor spaces, and it looks nice. I think, like, even though it's like big and blocky and some odd angled things jutting out.
Yeah.
Like I said, I kind of forced myself to make unrealistic areas and unrealistic texture use, and
it kind of lets you you kind of like have to decide in advance like what is important to make the kind of image that I want to make. So like if you're someone who is used to working without limits, you might like put a lot of detail into things like these little like offshoot computers that are in the walls, or like little support beams and borders and stuff. But if that's not like creating the kind of scene that you want, and it's just stealing all of your resources, you're kind of like put in a position where you want to focus more on like big, bold architecture to make the kind of area that you want to make, instead of going crazy with detail in places where it doesn't really matter. It's kind of it's an interesting exercise to like kind of. That's really what it is for the most part, is like when you're designing a vanilla map, because there's not really any practical use for vanilla limits at this point. Everybody's playing. I mean,
not really.
90% of Doomworld's playing Doom on GZ Doom anyway, so there's probably a handful of people that are playing Chocolate Doom, and there might be even a smaller handful of people who are like playing with like old ass computers, or like trying to run Doom on their ATM machine, and they want to play P1s too. So they would like. I guess it would be cool to have like more vanilla maps for that reason, but it's really just kind of an experiment with or not an experiment, but like a test of what you can do as a level designer and like kind of create the best maps within these limitations.
Yeah, that was part of why I stuck with vanilla, and partially also is just it's more accessible to more people.
Yeah.
But there's a few reasons, and it's working out well so far. But I don't think I'm going to go out of my way again to
Yeah, I used to care a lot more about vanilla, but I'm pretty much I'm kind of over it. I think limit removing is the way to go. I know a lot of people like Boom, but I don't really like Boom that much. I get annoyed with it sometimes. I know, but I only know that because I'm used to like recording demos with PR Boom, and
Yeah.
I noticed like little subtle differences in the way Boom works compared to like regular vanilla Doom. Like there's some things that will happen in Boom, like if you run out of ammo with a certain weapon, and then like let's say you had like a super shotgun and you fired your last 2 shells, and then in the middle of your reloading process you picked up another box of shells. In vanilla Doom, it wouldn't automatically switch weapons because you're out of ammo, because it knew that you
Right.
picked up ammo before the reloading sequence was over. But in Boom, if you fire the super shotgun your last 2 shells and you pick up shells after that, it'll still switch weapons. And that always drove me crazy, because I would always be in like this really like touchy situation where I'm like really trying to manage my resources, and the only way to get this one box of shells is if I kill this demon that's like running right in the way, and I'm trying to avoid getting hit by revenant missiles and stuff, and I just need it to work. And right after that, I grab the shells, and then I switch to like pistol or something garbage, and I'm surrounded by like mancubi and revenants and stuff, and I'm like, God, I gotta switch weapons again, and it's just such a waste of time, and then I end up dying or losing a lot of health. And that always catches me off guard, because I'm so used to playing, like if I'm already used to playing on vanilla Doom, that's something that I don't have to worry about. There's other like little nuances and stuff too that I've noticed, but I can't think of many of them right now, because they're so specific that it's kind of like hard to remember them off the top of my head. But I know them when they happen, and it's like, God damn it, Boom. But
yeah. I used Boom a little bit back when it first came out. Before Z Doom existed, I used Doom Legacy, which I actually kind of liked. It had higher resolution support, and it was more advanced than Boom was at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really care for Boom myself either. For normal play, I use GZ Doom, and obviously I'm testing in Chocolate Doom.
Yeah.
With this level set, just to make sure,
Yeah.
I usually I'll try to test gameplay in vanilla if I'm making a map for vanilla, even though I don't typically play with Chocolate Doom. I'll at least try to test the gameplay, because it does feel different.
Yeah.
A level that I can kick ass in GZ Doom, I might not do so well with vanilla Doom, because you don't have the same mobility. You can't aim up and down, and you can't. There's certain things that lower resolution. You can't see monsters that are further away, and but they can see you and hit you just fine. Especially in some of the size of some of the levels that I have here. You can see in GZ Doom, you can see all the way down to the other side, but if you load it up, I don't know if anyone still plays with like 320 by 200, like the original resolution. There probably are, but even at like 640 by 480 or something, it's still kind of pixely.
Yeah.
And there might be some troopers or chain gunners like all the way at the other end that you can't see, but you're getting hit by bullets out of nowhere. So
yeah,
if I go through in vanilla and it turns out to be like a lot harder than it was playing with Z Doom or GZ Doom, I might add some more health in places, just to try to balance it for people who will play it in vanilla.
That's a safe way to especially like working with like difficulty settings and stuff. is not necessarily like reducing the monsters or like making a situation easier. Just give the player a little extra health or some extra ammo, or give them a good weapon earlier on or something like that. I think that's like the best way to do it. I think it's more important to give the player more resources than it is to like take away monsters.
Yeah, I guess in some cases, because when you think back on the original Doom, like, they didn't take the Cyber Demon out of Tower of Babel on the easier modes. There was always a Cyber Demon there. So, even people who aren't that great at Doom like to fight Cyber Demons. So maybe give them a BFG or a Megasphere or something to pump them up a little bit.
Right.
And they still, taking Cyber Demons out or harder monsters. Yeah, I agree. I think it could take away from the experience. I mean, obviously, you don't want to throw, if on Ultraviolence you have like 10 Revenants, maybe knock it down to like 4 or something like that. But leave the Revenants there. Don't replace them with imps because,
Yeah, well, I find that useful sometimes because I in my experience, like changing some like chain gunner guys into like to like imps or shotgun guys or something that might be a little safer just because they're like easier monsters to kill. But
well, here and there, for the fodder type monsters. But when you have, when you have a major encounter, like if you have a somewhat scripted battle with an Archvile, you kind of like in
you can't change that to something else and make it just.
I don't remember if does Circle of Death in Doom 2, it has the Archvile on all skill levels, right? I think
so. I don't remember playing that.
I'm pretty
level
sure
on easier.
I think the first time I played Doom 2, I think I played it on I'm Too Young to Die, and I'm pretty sure the Archvile was there on all the skill levels. Yeah. So something like that. It's like a somewhat major encounter.
Yeah.
So maybe your major encounters could stay the same, and then just the in between stuff be a little easier. Switch out. Put imps instead of chain gunners, or.
Yeah, I like to think of it. I like to think of the type of monsters that are most likely to do more damage. Like I think some people think of like the monsters that. Well, I don't know how many people still think of this, but I think that there's like there's particular monsters, like for example the Hell Baron, that are just like these huge damage sponges, but they're basically imps. Like they're really not hard monsters. So like I think like there's circumstances where you can like change maybe like a Mancubus into like a Hell Baron, and that would make it much easier, even though the Hell Baron is like considered to be like a boss monster versus the Mancubus. But the Mancubus like fires like 2 shots at once, and they go in different angles and stuff, what makes them a little trickier to dodge. So you're more likely to take damage. So I think like if you're like scaling things down for like an easier skill setting, it's interesting. It's important to like take into account the amount of damage a monster is likely to do versus like how much health they have or whatever. But like I think like people would I know like some people like it's pretty common for people to be like, oh, I hate Slaughterfest maps, but I think people would enjoy it more if level designers were like a little more liberal with like power ups and stuff. So if there were like extra Megaspheres or something, or extra invulnerability spheres or something on easier skill settings, you could still enjoy playing a Slaughterfest map, provided you have like the resources that you need. That a lower skill level player would need in order to defeat it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like give them a backpack early, or give them a rocket launcher right away instead of like after you get past this first wave of monsters or something. Just kind of give them like all the fun and easy stuff right away, and that way they can just kind of blast away at all the monsters and have fun without hating the level designer when they die so many times.
Yeah, that would probably be good for me too. I've played Sunder.
Yeah.
I couldn't even beat level 1 of that.
Yeah, level 1 took a lot of practice for me. That was the only level that I beat. I only beat the first one.
I think probably some of the later ones might be easier because they're more wide open.
Yeah, they could be.
I was particularly impressed by map 10 of Sunder, the Hag's Finger, that big tower thing. But
it's really crazy. It's a crazy map set. Insane Gazebo is a pretty impressive mapper.
Yeah, I went through to check the maps out. And I did try, my best to play them for real, but I wasn't up to that challenge.
Yeah, it's an acquired taste. I couldn't beat much of it. I could probably do it if I really took the time to like keep practicing and working at it. But there's some levels
if I were to watch some videos about how methods that other people might have used.
Yeah.
To like get ideas.
Yeah, exactly. But like with huge maps like that have like many hundreds of or like tens of thousands of monsters, it's it drives me crazy because sometimes like you'll just like make one mistake and take a fire like a revenant fireball that does like 90 damage when you have like 86 health, and it'll just fuck your day up, and then you have to start all over again if you haven't been saving the entire time. And it's tough to do when you're surrounded by monsters all the time. You don't want to like get a shitty save where you're like surrounded by fireballs or can get like cornered by pinky demons and stuff. It's tricky to do. And I torture myself by playing without saves anyway. So if I die in the game, I die for real and I have to start it all over.
No, I typically save.
I should work on that.
Every few minutes, or especially if I just finished an encounter that I didn't really care to repeat, I'll save again.
Yeah, that's okay to do. I used to when I first got into like Doom and stuff, I save scummed like crazy. Like I would like pick up a soul sphere and I would have 200 health, and then every time I took damage, I would load the game because I wanted to keep that 200 health for some reason, and that way I could like get to like these crazy like you're surrounded by 2 cyber demons or something, and then I would have enough health to survive it. Because I never knew it was coming up next in this mega wide, so I would always save when I had I would always like max out my ammo and then save and then load it whenever I like wasted any resources or anything. It's a nasty way to play, but Doom levels have gotten so hard these days. I mean, like the ceiling for people's skill has gotten like much higher than it was like maybe 10, 15 years ago. So like where people are making like levels that are considered to be easy today are like must have been like really crazy back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another. Eventually I'm gonna have to get some play testers for these, and hopefully I can get someone to volunteer who's like at least pretty good at Doom.
Yeah.
Because I usually start setting everything out as ultra violence, and then I'll go back and set like easier skill levels. So I'll do my initial balancing for ultra violence for something that I feel challenges me, and but I'm not that great. I mean, I'm okay. I can beat my own levels, but if I find it too easy for me, then chances are most people are probably going to find it really easy. So
yeah, I've been wondering.
So I don't know. I was thinking taking, and there's been a few threads about people whining about ultraviolence being too hard, and as it turns out, there are actually quite a few people who play on Hurt Me Plenty.
Yeah.
So maybe what I'll do, come to think of it, is when I consider ultraviolence here, maybe I'll make as Hurt Me Plenty, and then I'll go back and make ultraviolence even harder. Something that like maybe is almost too hard for myself to beat. That way, the hardcore players have something really hard to play.
Yeah, that's something I've been wanting to explore too. Is like, one of the things that was interesting to me is when I got into mapping, I knew there were some like Slaughterfest like level designers. Like I knew Jodwin was one of them, PHML was another, and at the time I wasn't very skilled at playing Doom. So if I wanted to make a Slaughterfest map, I wouldn't even know how to test it because I wasn't good enough to play it. So like,
Right.
so like it's it's weird because like I think like if you're a Slaughterfest level designer and you want to make good Slaughterfest, you have to be able to beat it because that's like part of the puzzle is like making like fun, interesting gameplay and actually being able to beat it. But
Yeah.
I wonder if it is like possible for level designers to like suck at Doom but still be able to make Slaughterfest that are actually pretty good. It's a weird thing to think about. I have and I can show you these too. I made some dehacked patches that I made as like kind of an exercise for this type of thing. I have dehacked patches that make Doom's gameplay easier in a way that doesn't actually like change the gameplay. So what it does, it makes like fireballs a little bit slower, and hit scanner enemies like zombie men and shotgun guys and chain gunners and stuff. They have like a long delay before, like they'll lift up their gun to shoot, but there's like a long delay before they start shooting, which gives you enough time to like kill them and stuff. And it just kind of like makes the game easier without really like shifting up the gameplay. So you can still like test your maps and you can test them with this dehack patch where that makes gameplay easier, and that way you can kind of design gameplay that's still like that would be like really hard for most players, but it's like possible to test without like messing up your skills. Because what I find is after I'm like done, after I spend a lot of time mapping, my ability to play Doom kind of like falters a little bit. I was actually talking to American McGee about this, and he described it perfectly. It's like when you're designing a map, like designing a map and playing Doom are like two totally different things. And the way he described it, it's like playing chess and then immediately going after that, and then like immediately going into like a pro wrestling tournament. It's like two totally different skill sets. Being able to design levels and then be able to play them as well. So it's kind of like it's kind of messed up in that way. So like to have like these dehacked patches that like kind of like change the skill level without, or it would change the how like intense and fast paced Doom is, and kind of slow it down so you can like really see what's going on and control the gameplay that way as the player, and then like release the map without the dehacked patch so people can play it the normal way. It was pretty interesting. I tried making a couple maps that were like super hard, and then I used the that dehack patch to make it pretty easy, and that way I was able to test it. And then the maps actually came out to be pretty exciting.
Still get an idea of what the encounters would be like.
Yeah, and it still makes the gameplay look pretty fun and exciting once you actually start playing it. Yeah, so that's something that's, I think that's pretty cool thing to look into, is like being able to control the gameplay without actually being good enough to beat your own maps.
Whoops. Yeah, I have some other screenshots in there too.
Oh, okay. Did you update the page?
No, there's further down.
Oh, okay.
Only the first like 7 or 8, and then I have the Razik ones.
Okay.
Oh God, I forgot about this one. For some reason, I got the idea. I don't know if you've ever tried 64 grid, making a level where every vertex has to be.
Oh, okay. So you can't use a smaller grid than 64.
Yeah, 64 grid sucks.
Yeah.
It's really annoying, and I made a little bit of a level, and I said, "The hell with this." It was just so aggravating. 32 grid would probably be okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where I even got the idea. That's the one with there's the gray sand floor and the red brick ledges and wooden columns.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Yeah.
That's that was the beginnings of a. I mean, it looks half decent, but you wind up being like really, really orthogonal, even without meaning to. I mean, you can stretch. You can put angular walls and stuff on 64 grid even, but when you're looking at such a blocky grid, it's just harder to think in terms of that. So yeah, I'll probably never try one of those again either. That was just a pain in the ass.
Yeah, the only way to do it is you're like forced to make a gigantic map. There's really There's
Yeah,
not much you can do with it as far as innovation and stuff. So, yeah.
and then I guess to make it challenging, you'd have to jam pack it full of monsters because it'd be such a wide open space.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I guess I could make a slaughter map out of it, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm looking at this. I mean, it's a pretty wide open space. You could put like 3 imps in there, and you wouldn't even have to fight them. You can just run right past them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's I shift the grid around a lot when I'm designing my maps. Like I'll try to start with like a 64 grid to like focus on the layout first. But
yeah, that's one thing, and then go back and
yeah, just shrink the grid
and break it down a little further. But
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, trying to make an entire map with nothing but 64 grid.
Yeah, you can't really make something good out of that.
Yeah, I made like 3 areas, and while they don't look terrible, it was just so aggravating to work with that I gave up.
Yeah, I would
trying to make a staircase.
Oh Jesus! Yeah.
And where it's not just like straight up, like, you know, I was trying to angle. You know, I like making like angular staircases and stuff.
Yeah.
And trying to do it with a 64 grid was just like, I think that was probably the point where I was like, ah, fuck this.
Yeah. I can see like how having those like kind of mapping rules would kind of force you to be a little more innovative, but like if you're using a 64 by 64 grid, I mean, like, are you allowed to like make doors or switches or I mean, like that's you kind of like need a small grid for stuff like that.
I don't know. I didn't get that far. I don't know.
You would have to make exceptions for things like that.
Door would have to be, yeah, I would think so.
And like steps, I mean, that would take up so much space.
Yeah.
Like 64 grid steps. So you would just have a map that's like pretty much mostly flat but huge and has very bold architecture and pretty orthogonal looks.
Yeah, it could still be I think people have done 64 grid maps that have actually been pretty good. It's just not for me.
Yeah. It does seem like something that you could do. Like you could try and design something that's like really basic and just like try to finish a layout for the map and then just like, as you said, like break it down and just like go over it each time with a smaller grid and add a little more detail each time. And that way you'll have like a pretty cool map after that.
Yeah.
But still, like controlling, like if you're trying to avoid making a map that's all rectangles and squares, that's going to be hard enough. The ability to make like different shapes and stuff with the sectors is what makes the engine so unique. You know, I was thinking about this the other day. You know how like Doom, the new Doom has like snap map, and
right.
you just get like these prefabricated rooms that you just kind of stitch together. It's not really it's not real level design. You know, it's not really, you don't really get to do the fun part. Like it's when you're creating sectors and you're creating your own shapes and actually like picking like drawing the shapes of the rooms with vertices and everything, you're kind of like putting your own signature on the map. It's because it's something that you drew from scratch.
Yeah.
So like if you're designing something like with Snap Map, you're using someone else's work and you're just kind of stitching the resources in a way that is appealing to you. It's not your work. It's not something you created. So I was like thinking about this the other day. Like if there was ever going to be like a new game that had a level editor in it, is there anything that's ever going to be as like innovative as Doom? Like, is it even possible these days? I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't. With how complex games are.
Yeah, they're just so detailed, and I mean,
probably not for a game like the new Doom. I mean, I haven't used it myself, SnapMap, but you know, it looks kind of neat for what it is, and you know, it lets people play around and make stuff. But
yeah,
as far as the average gamer being able to jump in and do level design.
Yeah.
So they probably kept it as simple. I can see why they kept it more simple.
Right.
I wonder, have they actually put out like a development kit for the new Doom, like with a real level editor?
Not really.
Or have
I've seen.
No?
I've seen. I mean, they've been updating Snap Map since Doom came out, and I've seen like screenshots that people have
I
posted.
saw they added some more stuff to it, but
yeah, you can like draw your own blocks and stuff, I think, or something like that. I never actually tried it myself. My my PlayStation Live subscription ran out, so like I have no reason to renew it because I didn't use my PS4 for anything besides playing Doom. So I don't know, and I wasn't really that interested in looking into Snap Map anyway. But
yeah,
it looks like you can do a lot more than you used to when it first came out. But I tried getting into it like when it was new, and it was not for me at all.
Yeah, it seemed pretty limited, even from like the videos that I saw when they first did the reveals. But
yeah,
well, maybe some of those retro games. What's that one? Strafe or whatever it's called.
Yeah, those are all like kind of like making a comeback now. Like these kind of like retro Quake looking half Wolfenstein,
there was
half
that
Quake
one
games.
with the like the zombie KKK guys. What the hell was the name? It was some retro looking game. I can't remember the name of it, but it was it was the one where I don't know if you saw the video, but
I might have.
It had sort of like when you fly up into the air, you can aim in any direction in a complete 360. So you can do like these backflip crazy maneuvers and aim upside down, and it had a distinct Quake look. It was really blocky and pixely. Somebody made a thread about it a while ago, and
there's been so many of them already. I can't remember all the names because I haven't played most.
Maybe
of them,
maybe some games like that will have more accessible level editors.
Yeah,
I actually because there's been some Quake talk on Doomworld, and Yuki Raven has been posting screenshots of her Quake maps, and
that's cool.
Kind of got me interested in giving Quake another shot. I never edited the first one. I think I messed with Quake 2 a little bit, and I've played around with Quake 3 and Doom 3, so I have done some 3D editing, but Quake seems simple enough, and you don't have to go too crazy with. I mean, you can. I've seen some really insane Quake levels that.
Oh yeah.
Probably. God, I can only imagine how long some of them took, but but you can keep the architecture kind of like to a Doom level, like maybe a couple steps above the original Quake. You can take a little more care with alignment and stuff, but you can make a pretty good looking Quake map without going too insane. So I downloaded. I wanted to try Trench Broom. I opened up Trench Broom, and it doesn't seem to have the regular grid views. It seems like you can only use the 3D mode, which actually makes it harder because you can't tell. Like on a grid, you can see when sectors or brushes are perfectly aligned with each other. In 3D mode, it's a lot harder to judge that.
Yeah.
So I'll have to play around with it a little bit more. I might just use that GTK Radiant or whatever. That covers pretty much every Quake engine game. And I think it covers pretty much every id Tech game after Quake and after. So
yeah, I was I remember one of my cousins he showed me like a Half-Life map editor, and that was like the first time I've seen editing for like a true 3D engine.
Yeah.
And it was terrifying for me because what he showed me there's like 3 screens, and one is like a side view.
Yeah,
one is a top view, and then like one is something else. I can't remember. And I was just like, what the hell is this? And it's like Doom kind of like hits like that perfect sweet spot where it's like very easy to get into. Like you're just drawing shapes and picking the distance between the ceiling and the floor, and that's all it is. And even with that alone, you can create all kinds of like really interesting architecture. I mean, of course, it's got its limitations. You can't make like bridges that you can go over and under, and you can't make rooms with multiple floors. But there's so much you can do with it just with that, and with enough practice, you can make stuff like really quickly, and it's depending on how much attention you want. I mean, you can literally make 3-dimensional art that you can play Doom in. It's like building with Legos and building like this cool fortress and stuff, and then you get to play a video game inside of it after you're done.
Yeah.
It's so mind blowing for me. That's what's so exciting about level design for me. It's just being able to take something that you can visualize in your head and create it very quickly in Doom, and play Doom in it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember even like on the oldest games that just being so blown away with like this childlike glee that I could make my own levels for a game. It was like amazing to me. And
yeah,
when I first got my hands on some Doom level makers, I was like, I think I probably didn't do anything else for like weeks on end.
Yeah, I know. When I first got into the Doom editor, I started so many like different works in progresses and stuff because like I just kept like my brain just kept shitting out ideas. I was like, oh my god, I should do this instead, and I should make this kind of map. I should make a city. I should make a like a highway. I should make a house, anything, and just like all these ideas just kept coming up to me, and I would keep like just making whatever I wanted, and it was like so cool to be able to play these things that like if I could think it, I could make it, and then I could play Doom, like an awesome game like Doom inside of it. That was so mind blowing for me. That was so exciting, and it's still exciting to me today because I'm still like kind of learning these new things and trying new stuff and trying to break barriers and stuff, like things that people haven't done before in mapping, and try to explore those kind of concepts and make them in a way that's kind of streamlined and makes the process kind of easier, so I can kind of like do things that people don't normally do in their own maps, but do something that's kind of like put like a unique spin on it online. I'm always
trying to think up new implementations for because you have your set scenarios that you're going to see pretty much everywhere. There's only so many ways you can trigger a monster closet or teleport trap. So trying to come up with clever implementations of, taking the same old mechanics and doing something new with them.
Yeah.
I find that interesting, and sometimes I get like this little mean-spirited streak in me where I'm like, I'll almost sit there and like, if I had a mustache, I'd be twirling it like, this is gonna be nasty, and I'll make like this really just really nasty, like, screw you to the player kind of trap, like,
yeah.
And then I'll go through it, and I might go back later and be like, that's a little too mean, and maybe try to dial it back or throw some extra health. But yeah, I have a few where it's just like out of nowhere, and for seemingly no reason, the wall drops away and a cyber demon comes out. It's like, and I thinking back on it, it's like maybe that's a little too much, but it's in that Hellish City map actually.
Yeah. I try to think of stuff like that too.
You get through a point, and it kind of prompts you because it's in a small space, and it doesn't happen until you're almost outside. So you're not really intended to fight the thing because it's in such a small space. You're supposed to run away.
Yeah.
And as you progress through the rest of the level, the cyber demon will teleport to further locations in the level, almost like it's following you. So like after
so it's catching up to you with the teleports.
Yeah, after you open the initial closet, like, I would hope most people, that's the thing, hoping that people will be like, oh shit, and they'll run away and not try to fight the thing in like this, and I just testing it and hoping that I give them enough time to react Because you kind of want to try to give the player a challenge, not necessarily give them something that's impossible. Like, you don't want them to have to rely on foreknowledge of your level. Otherwise, and especially in like a huge nonlinear level, and then they're going to have to go, some people play with no saves and they're going to have to start all over.
Yeah, you want to be a little fair. I mean, if you really want to be incredibly like maniacal, like Dr. Evil, I mean, you could just give the player no weapons at all and just make them fight everything with a pistol if you want to be that much of a douchebag. But part of level design is like you do want to like shake things up, but you also want to make it fun too. So you want to give the player a cool weapon, and you don't want to like bait him into like this ridiculous trap where there's pretty much no way to survive without knowing about it in advance.
Yeah,
like you want to give him like a chance to improvise.
It'll probably take some tweaking, but as you progress, you're supposed to run away from him and just leave him alone, and then you come down and it loops around this area, this outdoor area, and which has its own battles and puzzles. And when you come back up the other side, when you walk through, you're right next to where the cyber demon is, and the wall will drop away, and it has a monster only teleport, and he'll teleport into the next area.
Yeah.
And then there's another huge battle that gets staged in there. So
when I was younger, I used to play a little bit of like StarCraft, and I like to watch like videos of some of the like the top like level StarCraft players, and what they'll do is like, have you ever played StarCraft before?
No, I never played it myself.
Have you played other RTS games like Command and Conquer or like Age of Empires or any of those?
No, I never really was into them. I mean, I know what they're about and basically how they work.
So like the object of the game is to like build this civilization and then use it to construct an army and then attack the other base or the other person's base and defeat them. And if you watch like these top level players, they'll just like make these like giant waves of like tanks or like these like missile turret things, and it's just like these massive defense mechanisms and stuff. And I like to think about that. Like I haven't actually designed a level with this kind of mindset, but it would be interesting to design a level with the purpose of like going to war with the player and like designing this like massive fortress with like all these monsters like guarding it. So you have like these towers with like thousands of imps and revenants and stuff covering them, and they're just like raining fireballs down at the player. And you just want to create like this massive fortress to like protect the exit. So like this exit is like something that you're trying to defend from the player, and like design a map that way. So you're like you're kind of like you want to go to war with this player. The Space Marine is just this massive like death machine, and you want to do everything in your power, use monsters, traps, whatever you can come up with, to make it as difficult for the player as possible to get to this exit. And
kind of like tower defense.
Yes, exactly. It would be exactly like that.
Those games are fun. I've played a few of those.
Yeah, so so like kind of like using that as like kind of your approach to map design. That's not something that I've done before, but it's something I'd like to look into, because I think that would be like a very interesting approach to map design. it would make it fun to like kind of like use that kind of narrative as part of the level design process, instead of like this job where you're trying to create something that's like interesting, is going to have cool screenshots and people are going to download and have fun with it and play it. It would be more interesting to like kind of make map design into a game for yourself.
Yeah, that does sound fun.
It's I never actually tried making a map like that, but it would be fun to, I don't know, to like try a level design that way. I'm sure some people do it, because if there's Slaughterfest already. I'm sure people have that kind of consideration when they're designing the maps, trying to make something as heavily defended as possible, because they know the player is that strong. That's cool, man. So Do you want to talk a little bit more about your projects that you're working on?
Um. Well, other than that, my short episode, I do have. Uh, as far as work in progress stuff, actually, there's a couple screenshots in there. It hasn't really gone very far. There's the two ones with the blue. That's my or molten metal. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
For I don't know if you know the dual maps, the Counter Goat Initiative level set of dual maps. This is supposed to be for the second episode of CGI dual maps.
Okay.
And that's a work in progress too.
That's pretty cool. Have you ever designed dual maps before?
Not really. No, I put one. I made a deathmatch level years ago for some reason because I never even really played Doom Deathmatch, and I took that level and kind of revamped it and put it in the first CGI. But I guess I don't know. Just visually, when I try to make a dual level, is just making sure that you can basically run in every direction from anywhere, basically. Like, just visualize like very easily free flowing movement. Nothing too like clunky or difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
And then I just work from there. Because I don't even really duel that much. I here and there. And I'm not really that good at that either. Pretty much just get my ass kicked all over the place. But for a while, I was playing it a little bit more. A couple of years ago.
I haven't done much duel maps myself.
I've done any Doom deathmatching recently.
Yeah.
What'd you say? You're breaking up.
Oh, sorry. I haven't done much duel mapping myself. I haven't really designed maps. I haven't done a whole lot of maps like with deathmatch in mind. Besides, like my first project that I started was called Motor Nerf, but that was, even though those maps were primarily deathmatch maps, I crammed it with the monsters because I wanted to play them in single player, because that was kind of this avenue I wanted to explore where I could kill monsters in deathmatch layouts.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I don't have a whole lot of experience designing like multiplayer levels outside of like 32 and 24s. And if my maps are good in that, it's mostly just luck. I don't really know for sure what makes a good deathmatch map, besides like kind of keeping those things in mind, like you said, like having enough space to move where you're not where the player's not bumping into things, and that there's like multiple ways in and out of areas, and then having like a designated like main arena or something.
Yeah,
but that's
pretty much. I don't have a whole ton of experience in it myself. Just kind of wing it, make like a layout that's fun to run around in, and that's pretty much it.
yeah, that's pretty much all it is. Because like in a multiplayer game, the gameplay creates itself because it depends on the players that are playing it.
Right.
If you just give them the tools that they need to kill each other, they'll make the map fun. Unless the map is like functionally broken, like doors are like shutting in your face when you're trying to go through a hallway or something. But
that would get a little aggravating, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I'm glad you're working on these cool projects. It's if you'd like some help, I think you should probably post about it on doomworld, and like post these works in progress so people can see what you're up to. And it would be interesting if you got some help, because like not to say that you even need it, but like but as far as like having enough time to work on your projects and stuff, it would be nice if you like had somebody to like maybe fill in some extra map slots or something in your project, or maybe finish some of your unfinished work or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that at all. I would could come out with interesting things. Actually, there's a screenshot in that list a little further down. It has like the thy flesh consumed sort of look to it. It's Stone 2 and
yeah, is that with the green
dirt
bricks and stuff?
and nukage.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see like the little yellow key pillars and that one. I actually, when we years ago, after, Doom the way it did was only planned to be the 3 episodes, and then an episode 4 the way it did had been thrown around here and there, and I thought, oh, what the hell, I'll try to make a Thy Flesh Consumed style map and see what I come up with, and it kind of went, it still has the same theme as far as like texturing and difficulty, but I kind of did my own thing with it. I think I'm going to include that in the episode too.
Cool. That episode 4 theme stuff is awesome.
Because he what's that?
I'm sorry. That episode 4 theme stuff is awesome.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The
you don't really see a whole lot of it.
Yeah, it's very weird because it's such an attractive theme, especially with that orange sky. Orange sky just goes with everything, and it's just a cool style. And there are like some people who do it, but it's like you would think a lot more people would do it because it's such an interesting theme. Like there's just like that kind of like gothic wooden brick type stuff. It's like it's very awesome. It's a very good approach to the hell theme in Doom.
Yeah, it's kind of like in between gothic and hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I would release it standalone. I might do like a short, because it's not a very large level.
Yeah.
I always had the idea to do like a small episode with like a couple levels based on each of the original themes. Like have like 2 tech-based maps and then 2 like Demos styled maps and then 2 Inferno style maps and then 2 Thy Flesh Consumed style maps, something
cool
like
idea.
That. Or,
yeah, so
even one map of each, just little quick maps.
Yeah.
So I may do that with this. I might release it standalone. I haven't really decided yet. I might include it in my other episode. But it's basically done. But as far as collaborations go, I mention it because Mark Cake did the monster placement for me in that level.
Cool.
So he's probably, every now and then he'll be like, are you ever going to release that level you're sitting on? And I'm like, yes, I got to decide what I'm going to do with it. But because one thing he's really good at is making just really difficult levels with not really high monster count. Like,
yeah.
And it's Thy Flesh Consumed theme, but it has Doom 2 monsters and stuff in it too. So I told him to go nuts with the enemy placement, and he made it pretty damn hard. I'll give him that. That's one thing I always noticed about his levels. And I wouldn't mind having someone do even just one single aspect of a level, like if I make the level and they put the monsters in, or vice versa, or whatever. So yeah, maybe once I get like a coherent, if I get like I have a small resource pack of just a couple, like the texture variants and stuff. I should put it together, and if I get something cohesive going, I can post some information about it and see if anyone would be interested in contributing anything.
Yeah,
even if to just add like a couple areas here and there, it wouldn't have to be anything too extensive.
Yeah, and like once you actually like start releasing stuff, like even if you like just release one of your maps that you've had sitting on your hard drive for a while, and just like reading the feedback, that's so motivating to put towards your like newer maps, because like some people might give you some feedback that you might never heard before,
right.
That you had no idea that like you thought to, like you might get some like pretty good advice that you never thought to apply in your maps before, and then you can actually apply that to the projects that you put a lot of effort into, and that way you can like make sure that you're the projects that you intend to be like pretty notable releases are actually very good. Just by like kind of releasing these kind of like whatever kind of maps that you don't put a whole lot of not to say that you're not putting effort into it, but to put in just kind of like release just kind of like whatever maps that aren't meant to be part of a bigger project, and just getting feedback on those. And like once you actually like start releasing stuff, you kind of like get on a roll, and then you want to continue that feedback loop. So you want to keep making more stuff, and as like an answer to the feedback that you got. Because if you spend too much time like thinking about whether you're doing things like wrong or right, you're basically just battling yourself, and there's really not a whole lot of good reasons to do that, because you'll just kind of like you'll keep like doubting yourself even about things that are probably like not worth looking into. But if you actually like release a couple maps that aren't really meant to be like your best work, but just kind of just show people what you're doing at the moment, you can get some like pretty awesome advice that'll help you in your other projects too, and that'll kind of keep you more focused and stuff as you're working on your newer stuff.
Yeah, and the momentum aspect. Like I said, I'll get on a roll sometimes when I'm working on a level, and that's usually where I wind up making like gigantic levels when I didn't mean to. But
yeah,
that could be one helpful aspect of a collaboration too. Is if I tell someone, that I'm making a level with, like, okay, after such and such an area, put the exit, and we'll call it done. And that way you don't wind up with a map that just like never ends, basically.
Yeah, it just goes on forever.
Because I want to avoid that. I already have a few large levels, and I have some smaller ones, but I need to make some, like an opening map that you can beat in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And smaller levels that balance out these giant nonlinear levels, because
you don't want to play too many giant maps in a row.
And especially if somebody wants to play the episode in one sitting or something, they want to sit down and get immersed in it, they might run out of time or get bored, and because that's one thing. Another thing too is just there's so much out there to play that I've done it myself, where I'll start playing something and never go back to it.
Yeah.
And it's not that I didn't like it. It's not that I wasn't enjoying myself. It's just I get distracted with something else. And
you just want to know
so
what else
much
is out there.
So I want to avoid that with my own stuff. I want it to be enjoyable enough, and people can play it quickly enough where they won't get bored of it.
Yeah.
And if they want to play a couple levels at a time, have like a small level to get you amped up for the next big level or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it would probably take to max this level, if you're good, probably a half hour.
Ooh,
maybe a little less than that.
Yeah.
It takes me like 35, 40 minutes. So somebody who's better than me could probably do it in like 20.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But anyway.
And that other aspect of like collaborating and stuff is, as you said, with when Mark Ake was helping you with that map, he's gonna, like, if you're working with somebody else, they're gonna push you to release your projects too, instead of like just kind of like releasing them whenever you feel like it, because it's easy to get kind of like, I'll just work on this later or something, and before you know it, months and months go by. But if you have somebody that's like kind of egging you on, like, hey man, I worked on this, I want to see it released, so they kind of like nudge you to keep working on things.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like motivating too.
I actually don't think I only thought of that because the screenshot was in that lineup, but it's not something that I was intending to sit on. I just haven't decided what I want to use it in yet.
Yeah.
I guess it could work as a standalone map. It's pretty difficult. It's not that large,
Yeah.
Probably be beaten in a few minutes by skilled player.
Yeah, I should release some more standalone maps too. I keep like thinking that I have to make these like big projects or short episodes or something. I want to make sure that I almost want to make sure that like everything that I release is something notable. And if I get caught up in that, I basically release nothing at all. And if I think if I focus more on just kind of like releasing a couple like whatever maps, that would be like really good practice for me.
Yeah, that's one thing I wouldn't say I worry about it, but it's kind of concerning that I might put a ton of time into something and it just falls completely under the radar.
Yeah.
You know,
and
because
that
I've already
happens a
put
lot.
like God knows how many hours into this, and you know,
Right.
I'm not the most prolific mapper in the community, so my stuff might be only noticed by a few people, and or you know, it might be really awesome. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I can only judge it from my point of view, and I've had a couple people try some of the levels, and I haven't really gotten like a ton of feedback yet because I'm not in like a deep testing phase yet.
Yeah.
Beyond the testing that I've done myself. So.
Yeah, that is like a common
so
thing.
yeah,
I've been
so
hearing more
having
about that
having
lately.
just like stuff coming out like every now and then, like you know, instead of focusing all my time on this one thing, I could just put together a level one day and put it on the internet for the hell of it, and
yeah,
and if it keeps the flow going and the motivation going, you know, where you're not getting caught up worrying too much about details and.
Yeah, it was really powerful for me when I was doing birthday maps. That became like my thing. So like whenever I knew it was somebody's birthday, I was like, all right, I got to make a map real quick. And,
yeah, I remember it was like a period of like a year where you made.
Yeah,
I don't even know how many, probably like 100 maps, maybe.
Yeah, it was
might have been.
Yeah, it had to have been like close to like 20 or 30. I made so many birthday maps for people, and it just became like this. That was like the most prolific time of my mapping career, and that was super helpful for like the other projects that I wanted to work on, because like I got people were telling me my maps were a little too linear, or the gameplay was too easy, or whatever, and that kind of like opened my eyes and made me focus on different things and different skills to look into. And if I haven't released any maps recently, so like if I were to start working on, that's something that I keep running into, is that like when I'm working on my projects now, I can't remember what it is that I should be working on as a level designer. So like maybe if I just did like a few short releases and just like short maps that people can play that aren't like a major commitment, and it would be, you can just get some quick feedback on them, and that would be super useful for me. And I think that could be useful for anybody too.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I should, because I actually have a couple like half-finished maps that are like homeless, aimless maps that I wasn't planning on putting them in anything specific.
Yeah, I should
finish them up and release them.
Yeah, I should do that too, because I have some like maps sitting in my map folder that like they're not finished, but they weren't meant for any particular project. They were just kind of some stuff that I felt like doing. I should just release them, you know, just see what happens. Like if people don't like it, who cares? You know what I mean? It's because I wasn't doing anything with the maps anyway, but it'll just give me some insight of what I should be working on. That's pretty much what I should be focusing on anyway, is like, what am I doing wrong? How can I make my projects better? So I'll just show people some maps to give them an example of what I'm working on, and get some good feedback. All right, man. Well, we've been talking for like almost 2 hours. Do you want to call it a night?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, it's after 10 o'clock. All right.
Yeah. Well. By the way, I know that you mentioned we couldn't get Splatterhouse on the show today. I will let him know that you were talking about him, and I hopefully he'll be around. He was one of the first guys who I ever like actually talked about Doom in person with, and he's a really cool guy. But he's going through some trouble right now. He told me he a few weeks ago he got like food sickness from like eating some like old hot dogs or something. And so he got food poisoning, and he was like out of work for like a week and a half or something, and they fired him after that. So he was out of a job, and he didn't have money to pay for his rent. So he's in a lot of trouble right now. So he doesn't have access to his computer at the moment.
Yeah.
But
it sucks.
Yeah, but he's working some things out, and he'll probably be around sometime like next week or the following week or something like that. So we'll get in touch with him again.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, hopefully everything works out okay for him.
Yeah. He's a cool guy, man. He gets himself into some trouble sometimes, but otherwise he's a very cool guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening, everybody who participated, and I'm doing some more shows. I think later this weekend I'll be talking to Natural 20, and I have some plans for more episodes in the future. Also, check out my duel with Alfonso, which is coming on August 15th. That'll be freaking tight.
Oh, yeah. Can't miss that.
Oh, yeah. The battle of the podcasts. Okay. And, so thanks, everybody, for listening. And Megalyth, release some maps. I'll release them, too. So I'll bug you about it. I think we should probably bug each other to, like, release our projects. And
yeah, if I have someone nagging me constantly, I'll probably be more likely to get things done, because I won't forget and get distracted. So
yeah, let's do that. Okay. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Good night.